Absolutely. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GIS Peer Success Webinar. This is our second one that we've been producing. If you haven't noticed, the goal for this GIS Peer Success Webinar is to really share our experiences and our best practices as GIS leaders and managers, really in addressing various issues and management issues that we deal with all the time. But we have all this knowledge, within our own silo, but we want to be able to, tap into that knowledge and tap into that community and create these best practices and bring that forthcoming to help everybody else. Most of this information comes out at conferences, or they comes out at meetups and things like that, but it doesn't get talked about outside of those venues. And so I'm trying to create this webinar series to help propel that, help get that information out there, definitely expend our wealth of information. So I am your host. I'm Toby Soto. I am the guy behind munigovguy.com. I am also the GIS manager for the city of Riverside, California. And I have a co-host. My co-host is Wade Kloos. He is the GIS director for the Department of Natural Resources for the state of Utah. You wanted to say a little something there, Wade, about yourself?
I think you said it.
You best said it. All right. We have a couple house cleaning items. We'll let Wade go into that.
Okay. So during this webinar, we do want to engage you guys with kind of the chat window. And so if you maybe drag your cursor down to the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see a couple of options down there, including a chat window. So if I was to go ahead and just kind of type in a message there, I think everybody would be able to see that. What Toby and I will attempt to do is be able to monitor the chat window. These may be things that you may want to prompt us for making a comment or type in a question. And this is something that we can kind of elevate up into the conversation level. The four people you see on your monitor right now are what we call panelists. And we're going to have the presenters come in and be able to share their screens. And you as attendees have the opportunity to interact via this chat window. So we want to make sure that you're aware of that. We'll do our best to try to monitor it. Depending on how many people are actually signed in to this, we may be able to keep up with the questions or we may not. But hey, it's a work in progress. We'll try to do our best.
Yeah.
That's it for the chat. The other component that we wanted to share was that we also have created a Slack community called the MuniGov community. Is that correct, Toby?
Just Muni Community.
Muni Community. Rolls off the tongue.
Exactly.
And this is something that we want to invite you all to. By virtue of you registering for this event, we'll be able to grab your email. And after this event, we'll send out invitations to join this community. It's just an opportunity, kind of in a forum sense, to be able to channel some of our conversations, and it kind of is all stored up there in the cloud. So it's a little bit outside of email as a normal channel of creating a community around common topics. And hopefully we'll share that, maybe even share that maybe in a future meeting, we can kind of show the interface to Slack.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then in terms of future webinars, primarily, both the Slack community will be an area where we promote future webinars, but also through the munigovguy website. We're on various other LinkedIn groups. Managers in GIS is another group. Just be on the lookout, and we'll do our best to put that out there. Turn it over to you, Toby.
Oh, very good. So today's topic is GIS awareness and engagement. That is one topic that just keeps coming up over and over again every time we're at conferences, every time we have some sort of discussion with other leaders and managers in GIS. It's just getting that word out, getting that awareness and engagement with GIS. And so we have two special guests with us today. We have Solomon.nimako. He is the GIS Supervisor for the city of Rancho Cucamonga in California. If you've been in GIS for a while, he's not any stranger to being known in this community. He's also the project coordinator for Regis Connect, which is the consulting arm for the Department of Information Technology for Rancho, and he's also responsible for identifying and overseeing the implementation of GIS applications within the city. This includes both departmental and public-facing GIS applications. And Solomon's leadership is very exceptional. He's definitely guided teams that have received various awards, and probably some of the biggest ones you've seen has been at the recent Esri UC conference. He's had the President's Award in 2014, and also the Special Achievements in GIS in 2010. You've also been on video with Esri with their E3 series as well, so you're definitely out there. Also a MESAC Innovation Award in 2007 and Quality Graphic Information Award in 2016. So he's definitely a man to be reckoned with here. Solomon has a master's degree in GIS from the University of Redlands, local here in the Inland Empire. And he also teaches GIS for Loma Linda University, UCR, and San Bernardino Valley Colleges. So welcome, Miko. Thank you for... And then, Wade, we have another guest.
Okay, I'll introduce Jennifer. Jennifer.borlick is the GIS Manager and a Senior Planner as well for Rock County, and that's in Wisconsin. And so she's the Senior Planner in the Planning, Economic, and Community Development Department. She's also active in the Rock County Land Information Council and an active member with the Wisconsin Land Information Association. She's also a co-leader in the Women in GIS in the state of Wisconsin. And she's also helpful in the League of Women Voters and active in racial and gender equality endeavors. So lots of extracurricular activities. Thank you for joining us today, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for, again, you two. This has really been something in the works to really get this information out to people, and it's people like you that really make a difference in our community and really get people engaged and really get thinking about the issues that we're having to deal with day in and day out. So Solomon, I'm going to let you take over and do your, I'm sorry, Jennifer, we're going to let you do your presentation first. So I'll let you take over. All you have to do is share your screen, and let's hear what you have to say.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're talking about GIS awareness and engagement. So I'm looking at it as kind of what we can do to be aware and to raise awareness and to engage with the people that we're working for and we're working with, as well as the constituents that we represent. So before you can bring awareness to somebody else, you need to be aware of yourself. You need to make the time to learn about what's going on around you. And there are many different avenues to be able to do that. One of the avenues that's probably the most intensive is a conference. So, you know, those usually take a lot of time and energy, but they're well worth it because you get such things as immersive training, where you spend all day thinking about one specific topic and you're not being distracted by calls in the office or, you know, somebody coming into your office back home. And you're talking to people and using the language that is most comfortable to you to be able to understand what you need to get done. Also, you need to make sure to take advantage of the vendor areas. I'll admit it, when I first got involved in this, the Esri User Conference, the vendor area was my favorite place to go because that's where I got all the free stuff, you know. But you know, in the past several years that I've gone, I've learned a lot just talking to different vendors. And, you know, there have been a couple of vendors where I've never thought that, you know, I could either one, afford them, or two, really needed them, that even just this past year, I got some really good ideas from. And that was just stopping to chat. I wasn't really even trying to find out more about their company, but they're there for a reason, and that's because they're good at what they do. So definitely take advantage of that. And then, of course, with every conference comes able to bounce ideas off of day in and day out, and be able to learn and to help along the way. And with this, you don't want to forget the little guys. Don't forget the conferences, the state conferences or the regional conferences that you can be going to. These offer the same benefits as the larger Esri conference or, EURISA or GITA or all of that kind of stuff. But these are the people who you can connect with because they're either directly in your field or directly in your region, or you have the same, same stake in the same, data or software. So those are really beneficial to go to. And then meetups. I'm in a rural county. I'm about halfway between Madison, Wisconsin and Rockford, Illinois. So I'm about an hour away from everything. So it's kind of difficult for me to go to those meetups, but I do try to get to them when I can. And then user groups. Wisconsin has a very active user group for the Esri software, and every year they have a conference. And it's Esri specific, and we learn a lot that way and see what other people are using the software for. So the other way you can become informed or aware is through training, and you can do that either online or you can do it in person. Online is nice because you don't have to travel for it. You can stay in your office. It becomes difficult though if you need to, keep your door closed and people don't realize that you're actually taking a class and that you need to spend time taking that class, because a lot of them are instructor led. In real life ones are nice that you can, bounce questions off of people. You get away from the office, so you don't get those disturbances. But a lot of times that's going to take travel to be able to do that. So instead of just 8 hours a day, you have to travel for to get to your location, and then travel back home.
What does IRL stand for?
In real life.
Okay.
So, and then the other thing to do are online courses. Now, these are different than online training in that these are either, these are like multiple weeks of classes. So you've got a homework assignment you need to do. You have reading that you have to do. So it's like taking an actual class, but you don't have to, again, go to the university to do that. Now, with both the online courses and the online training, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you put a lot of effort into these training courses, you can get a lot out of it. But if you don't, then obviously you're not going to get very much out of it. I do these and I miss out on a lot because I don't have a lot of time to spend in the discussion rooms talking to different students that are taking the class, but I do get benefit out of them. So you can find these through either vendors. I know Esri has like 4 or 5 MOOCs is what they call them. And those are massive open online courses. I always forget what the 2 O's are. So basically, it's thousands of people taking the same class at the same time as you are. Where I like getting a lot of my stuff is I go through edX and Coursera. I have an account in both of them. You can take any kind of class from them. They have, you can learn another language, you can learn software development, you can learn program management. Craftsy is another one if you want to learn how to do crafts. So, but anyway, so then the webinars are really big right now, and for good reason, because you get, little bits of information that you normally wouldn't get in your given work day. So if you see a webinar that's interesting to you, you should sign up for it. Even if you can't go, more than likely you're going to get either a "we're glad you attended" because they can't keep track of who attended and who didn't, or we're sorry you couldn't make it. But in those emails, you'll get a link to the actual webinar that you missed. Obviously, it's nice to be on the webinar because then you can send questions back and forth. So with whoever's running it, like we're doing now. So I really like watching webinars and listening to webinars and being involved in them. And that's, take an hour out of your day in the middle of the afternoon, kind of thing. And then probably the least demanding of them would be YouTube videos. There are so many channels out there right now for people doing GIS, and anywhere from programming to spatial analysis to how to build a web map. So you can get a lot of information out of there. If you see somebody you like, subscribe to them so you can get to the notifications that they've actually posted a new video. So now that we're aware of what it is that's out there, and a lot of people overlook the awareness aspect of it. They don't think that this is the important part, but you have to know what's coming up. You have to know what the up and coming software is, what the new trends in technology are, how to do a lot of this stuff in order to be able to help the people that you're working for and you're working with. So if you don't know it, neither will they. So becoming aware of what's going on around you and keeping track of it is very beneficial and a very good idea. So now we move on to the engagement. So now you know everything there is to know about GIS and all of the spatial analytics that you can do, right? Okay, maybe not. But you do want to start doing some engagement. So the first thing you want to do is monitor the pulse of your organization. Oh, and I have a typo. How about that? You guys didn't see that, did you? But anyway, so you need to know what's going on around you. Keep your ear to the ground, keep your fingers on the pulse, learn what other departments or what other coworkers are doing to see what it is that you can do to help them. And we've implemented this in a couple of different ways at Rock County. The first way, and I'm not going to show you the links to this. If we have time at the end of this webinar, I can go ahead and go to those, but I'm not going to go to them right now. We have one that's called the Lottery and Gaming Tax Credit Search. And this was conceived by the Real Property Lister office, or Real Property Lister, went and saw to a conference and saw this particular application done by another county in Wisconsin, Racine County, where in Wisconsin you can get a lottery and gaming tax credit on your primary residence. So basically, when you buy a house and you move into that house, you are supposed to get a piece of paper to fill out to say, this is my primary residence, I qualify for this tax credit on my property tax bill, can I please get it? Well, not everybody knows that. Not all of the realtors know that, and not everybody catches that. Or like if you move from one house to another house, that lottery tax credit doesn't go with you, it stays with the property, which creates instances where people are either receiving the credit and shouldn't be because it's not their primary residence, or should be receiving the tax credit and not. So this particular application allows the user, be it a citizen, be it a town clerk, be it a municipal clerk, to be able to go in and look at a specific area, to pull up a parcel, to pull up by the parcel number, the tax ID, or the address, and be able to find whether or not there are lottery credits being taken on that particular parcel to determine what paperwork you need to fill out to fix whatever issue you've got. So we also have the tax lien auction tour. I have been aching to figure out a way to do a story map because I think they're a beautiful way to give information at. give it information out. I've got a couple of ideas, but this one seemed the easiest to implement in a short amount of time and to get the most bang for your buck. So what I did was I took all of the parcels that were being put up for auction because of missed taxes. I made a story map of all of the parcels that were being put up and sent that to the treasurer's office, and the treasurer was able to use that. I didn't get it up. I didn't know when exactly when the auction was going to be, but I got it up a week before the auction, and that was in mid-October, and since then it's had 300 hits. So this one for this time period is the app that got the most hits and was the most well-used app for the month, which I was very happy with. And they had several people at the auction did mention that they did go to this map and look at it to see what the properties look like, which was nice. And then also the town zoning app. This one has been very beneficial for our department. Our county is not countywide zoning, it's town authority. So the towns set the zoning. And, you know, again, we're a rural county. There aren't any townships that have GIS. We've got three or four municipalities that use it besides the county. So it becomes very difficult to coordinate all of this information when we aren't the people that are, you know, that are changing the zoning. So it's always been a struggle for us to get the information that we needed to be able to answer questions when realtors or title companies call us and ask us what the zoning is. We'd have to go look it up and, you know, then call them back. So it was very time consuming. And then we pushed it out to the public, and the comments or the calls that we've been getting are a lot fewer than they were in the past. And this one's getting a lot of good hits too. And then the other nice thing about this is not a lot of the towns took the time or energy to send us what those zoning changes were. So as this has been pushed out more, we're getting a lot more of the municipalities, the unincorporated municipalities, telling us what their zoning changes are. So it's helped us try to keep up. Right now we have 2 towns that haven't approved us putting this online and don't send us zoning changes. So hopefully that will change as more people see this. So another way to engage is to step out into the light. And what do I mean by that? We're technical people. We don't like talking to people. We want to hide in our caves and do our work. You know, just leave me alone, let me do it. I'll get it done. At least, you know, I can get that way. Not all the time, but, you know, I can get that way. So you need to let people know what you're doing in there. You know, if people don't see you doing work, they're going to assume you're not doing work. You know, or if people think that, you know, the only thing that you're doing is making maps in there, the only thing they're going to come to you for is to make a map. Where if we're out there telling people what it is we're doing and keeping them abreast of the situation, then, you know, it makes it more prevalent that we're actually doing more than just sitting in our offices making maps. So the other thing too is people don't realize what making a map really is. If they think you're a map maker, they're going to look at you like a map maker. And when they say, I want you to make me a map of all the water mains in such and such an area, and you tell them, well, I can't do that. It's not just a line. And they're like, well, what do you mean it's not just a line? Well, that water line has you know, a diameter, it has a material that it's made out of, it's had how many breaks that it's had when it's installed. And then it also has, you know, that dot isn't just a dot, it's a valve, it's a connector that again has how long was it installed, when was it last inventoried, when was it last inspected, oh look, and it's connected to another line that's connected to another valve. And oh my goodness, now we have right about here, we have a water main break. Now what? Well, we're going to have to shut off this valve. Well, what happens when we shut off this valve? Well, then we're going to have to shut off this water main, which is, oh, attached to a building. Look, that's the hospital or the school or even a jail. So it's got a lot of consequences to what is behind that line. And just drawing a line on a map isn't going to teach anybody anything. And so the other thing you can do is set up a technical workshop. Now, we've done this a couple of times in and around Rock County with the various municipalities, where we bring in people who are not already doing GIS to a workshop taught by the vendors. So a vendor can come in and have a specific talking point and talk directly to the people that would be using the software. I don't work in public works. I don't know anything about snowplow routing. I don't know anything about road construction. I don't know what roads need to be closed when. But the Department of Public Works director does. And the vendor is the person that's going to be able to help them leverage the software and the technology that they need to be able to do their jobs. So in all of this, I've been doing this for 10 years. Of course, you're always going to come up with a lesson learned, right? We all make mistakes. We all learn from everything that we're doing. So the biggest thing is one of the big things is to avoid tech speak. If you keep using things like IRL in real life and people don't know what it means, or if you say, well, this projection is wrong, or, the snapping tolerance isn't set correctly, this isn't working. And if you're using all sorts of terms, projections, datums, transformations, their eyes are going to start to glaze over. So once their eyes have glazed over, they're not going to come back from that. You've lost a lot of work and have to go back to the beginning to try to explain it to them in a non-technical way. The other thing is you don't want to step on anybody's toes. Make sure you know who it is that's around you. You don't want to be going, wow, that was really dumb. Why did they do it that way? And then realize that the person that implemented it was standing right next to you. Never happened to me. Nope. Has not happened much. So anyway, so make sure that you're aware of the backstory. Make sure you're aware of the technical limitations that were there when they implemented the solution that they implemented. It's good to be proactive, but you also have to take a step back and learn who all of the players are. Something that was very beneficial recently with us, this wasn't a problem that I had, this is something that I did purposefully, is you want to look for transitioning workforce, the transitioning workforce. For example, I work in a county. One of the benefits of working in a county is you have people that are here for decades. So you have lots and lots of institutional knowledge. You also have people who have worked here for decades who don't want to change. So, if you know that there is a big change coming up that's going to completely, flabbergast some of the people that you're working with, and you know that they're going to be retiring, maybe you want to try to gear that workload, that change in protocol to when they're transitioning to leave. So before the new person comes in, but after that person leaves, you have a new way of doing things. And one of the ways that we did it is we had our address grids on Mylar, and they were hand inked. And the guy that had been doing it had been here for 39, 40 years and hand inked the Mylars, hand inked all of the new addresses onto the Mylars the entire time. So, when he left, there was nobody else that knew how to pull out the Leroy set and measure out the address and put that address point on there and label it correctly. It is something that somebody could have easily learned. However, why make them learn an old technology when you want to advance with the new one anyway? So we went ahead and digitized all of our address grids, and now they are all done electronically in a GIS rather than on a Mylar. We did scan all of.
We're going to need to wrap up in the next couple minutes, okay?
Okay, yep, I'm almost done. Also, you don't want to sell yourself short. You can do it. Really, you can. You just need to take the time and the energy to take a step back and look at the project that you need to do. and let yourself be open to new things. And if you can't be open to new things, don't oversell yourself either. You know, a lot of people look at GIS as magic and all of us GIS people as magicians. Well, we kind of are, but we're kind of not. There are things that you cannot do that you shouldn't do. You know, like the example I did before with the water lines. I don't know anything about how any of that works. I wouldn't even try to guess at how to put together a water network. I would leave that to the engineers and to the people who are most, now I can't come up with the word, who are most experienced in doing that and who have the licenses to be able to do that. So what's next? What are we going to do more? What am I going to do more? Well, I'm going to be doing more workshops. I'm always learning. You haven't gone through a day, you haven't completed a day unless you've learned at least one thing. So we're also going to be doing more apps. We've got probably 4 or 5 out there right now, and we're going to be building more of them. I've got a couple more ideas in mind, especially for a story map that I'm going to push out onto somebody else and let them see what it can do. Sorry. And, you know, always more learning, webinars, conferences, everything like that. So I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was a couple of key things that I got out of that. There was definitely networking. I mean, that's why we're all here, right?
Right.
We're all trying to network. We're all trying to find out what everyone else is doing, find those best practices, and how can I take that, relate it to my organization. You know, that's definitely a key point there. And then just another one that came off just here was the exposure, just having that exposure, you know, having the GIS days, having those tech workshops, going to the executive management's meetings and doing a 10-minute dog and pony show of what GIS can do. That is really key in getting that exposure and that awareness, and then ultimately the engagement and the implementation of GIS. So thank you for those key points, Jennifer.
And I just kind of wanted to mention one of the things that I really appreciated from your talk, Jennifer, and that was the emphasis on learning. You know, some people get into the job and after a few years they feel like they've learned what they've needed to, but I really appreciated the fact that there is an emphasis there that we're always learning. And I would say that your time spent learning what your businesses are doing, it's not so much that you learn how to do necessarily, network tracing or what an street engineer does, but understanding the way in which their business conducts work. Your awareness of how that data gets created, processed, used, and decisions made. Every business unit does things different, and your time spent learning exactly how they do their work from an information standpoint is institutional gold. It is priceless for you to be able to understand how work gets done so that you can make some improvements to it. So I congratulate you on your attitude about learning. I think that's really, really important. Thanks again, Jennifer. Appreciated your presentation.
Thank you.
Awesome. So next up, Solomon from the city of Rancho, Cucamonga, California.
All right, let me share my screen. All right. Okay, everybody can see the screen, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So I will just follow up on what Jennifer said and then share some experiences on how we in the GIS team here in Rancho been able to get a community involved with GIS. So these are some about 80% of what we do in local government all deals with location-based. You know, the technology has changed from when we all started 10, 20 years or so. So that, and then also we have residents constantly asking for quicker response. And we see it means that GIS can play a critical role in that aspect. So we've been pushing the technology a little bit deeper. You talk about transparency, you talk about reduction in workforce, and then how multiple people are wearing multiple hats, you know, in the places like public ways. They move from team to team, and we see GIS as being a key role over there. Adapting the, you know, the smarter platform, you know, the business process has changed. Every technology has moved faster and more advanced, you know, from the days of ArcView, ArcPower days, you know, Trimble, and you know, the Trimbles are still there, but now you've been able to incorporate more of the smart devices and really moving away from the clipboard kind of workflow that most cities have been using. So we see all this thing as being an advantage. Just a quick, this is where Rancho is. This is our population is about 171,000. Our daytime, it goes up because we have Victoria Gardens out here. We have 7 fire stations, which all use GIS. So just a little background on that. Now let's get into what we are actually here. So when I start back to reflect on about 12 years since I've been working in here at the city, to narrow down or to do GIS in other cities, these are kind of the simple things that I put down there to say, if you want to do GIS or if you want to increase engagement of GIS in your organization, these are some of the things that I think are very critical for you to use. So I'm going to step through this, and then I will explain with examples how these things are done. So let's say keep it simple. What do I mean by keep it simple? Well, look at it now with Esri technology, with the concept of, say, story maps. If I want to keep GIS simple, and if I want to get a quick win or to get the decision makers some understanding of what GIS can do, a simple thing as a story map identifying all the major projects going on in your locality is going to be something that they are all going to understand and really embrace the GIS technology. This is just like just throwing up a little hook in the water and trying to bring them in. So that's what I mean by, you know, keeping it simple. Building a story map with your planning department or public works department, just showcasing the major projects that are going on in your town will get you the foot in the door. Even with the toughest crowd that you might have, that is going to open up the eye, because if you look on the city manager's level, yes, for him, it tells a story of all the activities that is going on in his jurisdiction. If he moves that data or that information up to a city council, guess what? Now they'll be walking out in the community, pulling up their iPads, showing residents all the major things that are going on in the town. Very simple. That is one of the things I say, what I mean by keeping it simple. Department-wise, it helps the planning department or public works tell the story to the city manager of what is going on in their department. So what I mean by keep it simple, just the story map alone can open a project map of project story map can open up the door. Now they can say, can we add this to it? And then you start building upon that.
Solomon, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do you ever build a story map without their approval so that you can kind of test the waters? And so do you ever proactively go after that?
Yep. We've used the idea of risk-taking as part of which has been accepted in our organization. That at times we don't like explaining stuff. We can actually build prototype and then use that, because seeing is believing, right? And when people can see what you are doing, then they go ahead. A good example is, when we went on the Esri President Award, if you were there, you saw the very last one was a military banner program that we had in Rancho. Well, that project was something that, you know, we just took the light post and we just built a prototype to show how we can tell the stories of all the sacrifices the men and women are serving the country. And we built a story map just to showcase what that could do. So that was not something, and then opens up their eyes. Oh, nice. We can actually change the way we manage the light, the banner program. And then they just embraced the story map as the platform for managing the banner program. So yes, you can absolutely do that. The next one I talk about is, explain your vision in a clear text. What I mean by that is, we've learned the GIS terminology. We speak, polygons, line, you name it. We will talk about all that, feature class, services, web services, and all that. It makes no sense to the decision maker or the guy in public works or in planning or police that you are trying to get them there. Try and use words that will make sense to them. So no technical words, leave it there. Over time, you can start explaining the concept of GIS to them as you move forward. So I was sharing an example a couple of years, former police fire chief. When I was working with him as a deputy, I spent a lot of time with him. And over time, I started explaining, breaking the principles down, what the point is, what the line is, what the polygon is. And he started now getting the concept of GIS. So, but initially it was just clear text communication that both of us can easily understand and then go forward. So when we are in a meeting with people, please do not use GIS words. You are just going to confuse them. The only time you are going to use GIS word, unless you have a graphics or some graphic on the board that really the brain can interpret what you are saying, the technical word you are saying, they can visualize it, then it makes sense. If not, you are losing them and it's like, what is this guy talking about? Now, this is the big one that I've always said, to get people engaged, we as folks need to change the concept of how we maintain GIS data. Traditionally, it has been that, okay, the guy go out in the field, he mark a paper, hey, there's a new hydrant over here, or there's a new street sign that was installed over here. He comes back in the office, he goes to the GIS guys area, they give the map to them. Then you have to find time and go back into the field and go and GPS that asset. Like that group does not have interest in the data. We need to decentralize that process because you cannot do it all. If you want to do some of the advanced stuff that Esri is pushing up and the technology is pushing up, that means you need to have more human sensors around you to help you maintain the data. The bottom line is those departments that owns the data have the same interest as you, or if not more interest in the data than you. The other thing I like to say is, guess what? They all went through the same background check before they go hired by the city or the department you work with. So they are all good. Thirdly, the data or the technology has come far that you can actually let them be sensors in the field while still keeping the integrity of your data. We were worried about is, what if they delete the data? What if they put in the wrong value? Well, there's something called drop downs and domains that you can easily build to help them to do the data collection. And if you spend time with them and you teach them, they will embrace. So if you want to get engagement, decentralization of your data is one key way of bringing people, because now they will be dependent on what you are doing and they will understand exactly what you're doing. So that's one of the ways. And a couple of examples of how we decentralize the data. My team don't go out to go and do data collection for anything relating to our assets. That is all done by the public works guys. That's a two-way principle that the data means more value to you. So you guys are going to maintain it, and we will work with you on the technical background. The data is up in the cloud or is not on our server. They pull it through the apps, and then they're able to do their work because they are already visiting the assets. So it's just a matter of spending a couple of days with them to show them how the technology works, and then they run with it. The other way this allows them to do is you are helping them to tell their story. When they come back from field, they actually they know what they've done. They know how many signs they've inspected, and that communication helps them to bring more people into the whole GIS area. And there's a couple of other areas that I just threw out there to show you how the decentralization process, and each one of this process, you can look at it as being engagement, because these are departments and these are different teams that are out there using GIS on day-to-day basis for everything they are doing in the field. The last person who comes up from the field will be the last time your data was updated. So you have that going for you. You don't, now you as a GIS team can sit down and look at some of the fancy stuff that you want to do and have time to do. You don't have to go and chase the data that a guy visited yesterday only for you to go and GPS it. When he was there with a city-issued iPhone or organization-issued Android device with a GPS on it, that he could have captured it for you. I mean, if it's a water line that needs high precision accuracy, yes, even that one, you can still train them to use the Tremble devices to do the data capturing for you. So those are some of the things I talked about.
Hey, Solomon,
yeah.
Let me chime in real quick. So when you're doing that, are you going from like the bottom up? Like, are you demoing and trying these applications out with the field guys, and then they kind of get engaged with it, and then they kind of run it up the ladder to say, hey, this is what we need? Or are you starting from top down, you know, and then having it filter push down?
Good question. You can approach it in two ways. It all depends, and I'll touch on one thing called the relationship. So if you build it, if you have the relationship with, let's say, the supervisors, or you have the relationship with one of the guys in a team, you can get that supervisor out. Because if we're dealing with public waste, as an example, they have supervisors which the crew reports to. So if you have a solution that you know can help them do their work and tell their story in a more efficient way, yes, we can build a solution. Once again, we don't go and tell them how it looks like. Build a demo, then have a sit down with the supervisor, show him exactly how this is going to work. Have a story. We have to create a story, a narrative for them to be able to take to their boss to sell the case. So how is this going to help you? Well, now you're going to know everywhere where all your street signs are. You can know when they are due for replacement. You can know their reflectivity. We can know because a good example, a guy is out doing signs and then he gets called out because he can't continue. Well, now you can know exactly the last sign that he inspected and the next person can go. So yes, we've done it from just the crew on the ground without even their supervisor. Build it. That's what we call, we are risk takers. Build it, build a prototype, and then we get a supervisor and we show this is going to be more efficient than the traditional way, and then it gets into the top. There are other instances that we get an idea and we know what they are going to do from the top, and then we're able to come back with the guys. But my team has always been in the field with them. We do not build things for them that we haven't tested. So we go out in the field with any team, even police, we go out with them. Even fire will go out on the ride with them because I want the guys to really see, you know, how the solution works when you're under pressure, when you are in the 98 degrees weather. How does this really work? So that builds that teamwork that you're already out in the field with the guys. And at times we have lunch with them and you crack jokes and you loosen up. So that friendship is built. So when we go back to say, hey, we have this solution that we think will help you do your job more effectively, it is coming from a good place. They know you are coming in because you understand their work and you've been out there with them. So that is one way of getting that engagement and not being seen as GIS. Here comes GIS with more work. And I'll run through this ones real quick. This is another example, our sign, traffic signal. And the backstory is this is all the signals in the city, and they are working 100% on that, on the GIS system. We don't have anybody on paper. When the light is, if it's yellow, means it's not fully operational. There's something in the cabinet. I had to go out with them, and that is when I realized that a simple traffic signal is very complex. They opened up a cabinet, and there was too many items that was in, but I get to understand it and see the importance why he wants certain fields, why he does that, and then we develop a solution for them, which is very good. The guy explained to you what he does on a daily basis, shows that you are interested in his well-being, and he will take whatever recommendation that you build. So that's the mobile on the collector. Now, model your solution. The other thing to get people engaged is you have to model solutions after existing workflow. And I'll give an example. Sidewalk. The Sidewalk guys were using paper clips. They have their own form they built in Excel that they were using for their workflow. Well, they wanted to do it in a mobile, and we thought, using the Esri app, which was back then was the green app. We call it the green, before collector, the green one. So what did we do? We knew there were fields that were in there that we didn't need, like cross street and all that. No, when the guy is used to seeing something for 10, 15 years, you don't change it. You build it exactly the same way he has. We go out on a new system, they start using it, over time, they will come back and say, well, but now that we are using GIS, we actually don't need the cross street because we actually know exactly the location where they're pointed, and they will start revising their work. So don't come in there and give them, because let's say there was a template which was put out there, you want to adapt the template. No, it is not. It is always not going to be a good idea unless there's nothing there that you say you want to use. I always say model the solution after an existing workflow, so you don't have people really like getting panic. Oh my God, here comes GIS changing everything that we've been doing.
So Solomon, do you end up having like two solutions, like one with the existing workflow, but then like, oh, you can really chop off, 5-6 steps by configuring the app this way? And then is that like kind of like a phase 2 option that you work with the end user, or do you already have it?
Not necessarily, because what you end up doing is that you give them the solution as they are comfortable with, and then you go out and we test with them and they start using it. You start seeing data coming in and you start seeing the level of how they are using it. Then we call up a meeting again, and there's a constant communication, either via text message, hey, something is not working, they'll come into the office, we fix it. But at some point, once you see that their engagement is high, then you can start saying that, hey, I want us to change this because it's going to make A, B, and C work faster for you. Or what values do you guys constantly put in this field? They can tell you based on, as Jennifer said, institutional knowledge, they can tell you these are all the fields that we need, and say, okay, can you just send me a list and I'll make it a drop down for you so you don't have to type it multiple times. So it's just a constant refinement. But in the initial stages, you keep them at their comfort zone, and then you start introducing the change over time, and then even if you want to move them to something else, they know that you already have the best interest for them, and they'll follow you as you move along.
Yeah. So that's following up with that relationship that you've developed.
It's a constant relationship. There's a human
conversation keeps going and just keeps materializing to more and more and better improvements to the application.
Exactly. And awesome. Our Sidewalk is one good example where that group was one that we started with mobile GIS actually, and they actually volunteered their own data plan initially because we wanted to show that doing mobile GIS was more effective than their clipboard, and they themselves saw it. Within 30 minutes, he called the lead for the group called his guys. We trained them right there. They went out. They did. It became like a competition. The guy who identified Sidewalk for the crew to fix said that he can pick more points before than the guys can fix. And the guys who were fixing it were saying that, no, we can fix this faster than you can identify them. Why? Because we took the paper away. Now they are not driving to a place to say that on the paper it says 300 feet from this Johnson. No, they can see the location of where the guy identified, and they are going straight to it. And they know whether it's a ramp or it's a grind or it's a complete removal, a replacement. So it became a game, and just that one group, guess what? They share the same lunchroom with other group. They were like, why is you guys using mobile and we are not using mobile and we are still using paperclip? It's a reverse psychology deployment strategy. And then the other group now started finding GIS. Hey, can we get something similar to what the Sidewalk crew is using? Here you go. The door is open. The engagement is just off the road.
So you had a byproduct of gamifying your applications.
There you go. They started making it, and they were still work faster than they've ever done. Another team was the Cardbase, and they were like, well, can we also use a GIS, a more effective way to do our Cardbase? Yep. And then they went out. The guy who was one of the guys on this team, Paul, he's been doing this for over 20 years. So I went with him and I said, Paul, I want you to tell me honestly, is using this system better than the old one? And he looked at me and said, yes, it's better. And I said, tell me the truth, because he's been there for a long time. And you can actually sense whether you are making an impact or not. And he said, yep, I like it because we know exactly what we are doing. Our boss can see which ones we've already cleaned, which ones have not been cleaned. We have the date, so anything before the rainy season, we know where we are. We help them tell their story.
Yeah.
The same with the site. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 5 minutes left,
All right.
and I really want you to kind of point out about how you have discussions with your city managers and
Okay.
that office.
So one of the things that we've also done, we've done with my previous boss Ingrid before she went on retirement, and currently our new boss is Daryl, and we continue to do that. Is we have what we call a day with the city manager, and strategically what we've done is that we set up a day on his calendar. We have the city manager, the deputy city managers, and we bring in a conference room. I mean, at times there's we know what he likes. So we have some ice cream, some root beer floats, you know. I mean, when people eat, when you break bread with people, communication and everything becomes easy. So it's a relaxed room with snacks and all that. But what we end up doing, we showcase some of the things that we are working on, some of the projects that we are working on for different departments, and then we have a business logic why it's important to the organization to him. So, and then after that, he sees it, he gives us his feedback, and then we also ask for his input. What are some of the things that you would like? You know, something like the dashboard, executive dashboard that we built was something that he wanted to see so he can see fire calls, police calls, the data that the guys are pulling from the field, he can see. So that's one of the things that we did. The other one, engagement, is just a cost. You have to try and keep the cost low. Why? Because there's easier way of deployment. You can use GIS Online to get most of those things done easily to showcase the value of GIS than trying to say, I want to buy 3 servers, 4 servers, and all that. The costs go high. The guy who's supposed to approve the money doesn't really know much about GIS. So he's not going to say, okay, go ahead and buy 3 servers. No, you can do it. You can use that GIS Online, very cost effective, show value, then you can say, now that you are hooked to the system, I think we need to take it to the next level. And that's what I mean by that. Couple of apps, input from department is very, very important. When we started this journey, I used to spend time visiting departments. And that was just because trying to build the confidence, build the relationship. So you can't just stay in your cubicle and say you're going to increase GIS engagement. It is not going to happen. You have to spend time with people. Then they know that you have the best interest in heart. And it might not work in the first 2 or 3 visits, but trust me, if you keep doing it, they see that you are sincere, the breakthrough will come through. You know, some things like for fire, what they wanted, we gave them that. They can perform the analysis. With abatement is the same thing that we are, you know, based on our discussion with fire, they said this is what we want to do. We built something for them. And this is what I was talking about as for the fire, the city manager. He wanted a dashboard. Okay, we got him a dashboard. The next year, we met him, we showed him what he wanted, and now he has it on his phone. Be a storyteller. Because what I try to tell people is that when you are telling somebody about GIS, you have to tell it from their story. Make it as a story. What is the value? What am I helping you to accomplish? If I'm doing graffiti removal, what am I helping you to tell by using a collector app in the field? Well, as you are the guy in the field, I'm helping you tell a story of all the work that you are doing. So if your crew goes out and removes 50 graffiti, you don't have to go and tell your boss we just did 50 graffiti. If your boss opens up the map and he sees 50 graffiti dots on the map, it's value. From your boss's standpoint, he's also able to tell a better story to the director because the director can see all the locations of graffiti that you guys have done. If somebody calls in and complains about graffiti not being removed, you have a location to go and verify that the guys did the work this day, this time, this is the picture. Just that the guy just came back and said, thank you for giving me a clean slate, and he just graffitied again. I will help you tell a story. So be a storyteller. And then the key to everything that I've talked today is relationship building. If you want to bring engagement in GIS, the key is relationship. And you have to build it from all levels, from the guys in the field, going out in the field to try and understand their work, to the supervisors, and then also being able to take them out into, let's say, the conferences. When you have your passes, don't just take the GIS guys. Make sure you have some of those passes with the different key departments that you are working with. So when you move them from your city or your work environment to the conferences, they see a bigger picture of, you know, just people get overwhelmed when they go to the Esri conference and they see the mass amount of people and the different amount of solutions that GIS is doing. there you can actually have the ability to also chip in some of the visions you have for your department. And that is one of the great ways to really open up and touch a lot of people in GIS. So I'll wrap it there. So the conferences, that is very key. You have to try and then for your executives, there's always the ESRI senior executive session. If you get hold of your account manager and you say that, hey, your director or your city manager would like to attend, your account manager and ESRI can put in some justification, and it's by invitation only. But think about the value, being able to get your director or some directors to the executive session. It opens up. You have them one-on-one, then you can walk them around the place and actually sell all the things that you want to do. When you come back to the shop, you have a green light, and that is your engagement.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Solomon.
Thank you.
I want to be considerate of everybody's time. We're trying to keep this to an hour, but that was some major value bombs that were delivered here today, and this is exactly what I've been striving to do, to try to get this information out to everybody else, so everyone can learn and gain those best practices from the experts that are out there that have been in the trenches and dealt with the problems and the situations, and just to be able to disseminate that information out to all of you guys. So I do definitely want to thank Solomon. Definitely want to thank Jennifer. You guys did a bang up job. I really appreciate it. Their contact info will be provided in a follow-up email. So for everyone that registered for this webinar, I'll have their contact information. There will also be a survey, because we want to know how this is helping you. We want to know, is this working? Is this getting you engaged? Is it answering those pain points that you're having to deal with? And what topics do you want to see? Where do you want to see this go? This is grassroots. This is just GIS managers talking. This isn't a vendor-led. This isn't anyone with some sort of agenda or anything like that. It's just getting this information out there. So Wade, thank you for being the co-host. Appreciate it. Seeing you on the chat there, that really helped. It's great to see everyone engaging in that way. Do you have any last words you want to put in there?
Just that we will have this recording posted and available sometime real soon, so that it can continue to be a reference that you can point to or point your staff to. But again, I want to express thanks for Solomon and Jennifer. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, helping us out with this platform, and sharing your insights. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I do want to thank everyone, all the attendees. I mean, you guys are making this happen. If you don't show up, it brings no value. So thanks for coming. We'll definitely be in contact soon with our next webinar, our next topic. And this is a work in progress. We keep fine tuning everything, trying to make things a little more engaging, a little more interactive. And I hope this is working for everybody. So
great.
Thank you, everybody. And
thank you.
Have a good day. Have a great post-GIS day.
All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.